Morning, folks. It's Alan Neal here for the PDM Show at the PDM Show on Twitter and Facebook, pdm.show on the web. I want to talk this morning about why do you want to be a product manager? I've been a enterprise B2B product manager, held various titles in that space in technology for about 20 years. And for about the past 5 years or so, I've been mentoring would-be or junior product managers. And I always, one of the questions I always ask them is, why do you want to be a product manager? And it's interesting. I don't typically get a very direct response to that question. Usually, my mentees, end up changing the subject or something. I don't know if it's uncomfortable. Also found when I was involved more with the organizing and management of the Toronto Product Management Association, we would work with and partner with a lot of the local universities, and I would meet a lot of MBA students that were, let's say, 3 or 4 months or 6 months away from graduating, and they wanted to get into product management. And I found that curious. So my question for everybody out there today is, why do you want to be a product manager? Let's take a look at it. Typically, what's said of the role. And I'm referring, typically to technology, product management, and most of my experience is in B2B enterprise space. But typically, the product manager has all of the responsibility and none of the authority. So think about that for a second. It's literally like the definition of being between a rock and a hard place. You have lots and lots of stakeholders with lots and lots of expectations, and you have no direct resources or budget or capability to satisfy those expectations. So, at a certain level, you're in a constant state of panic and wondering how are you going to satisfy all these various stakeholders. Now, how you do that in practice is you practice influence without authority. That's one of the first things that they taught us, back in the 90s at Pragmatic Marketing, was you need to be a master influencer, and you need to be able to reach out cross-functionally and influence people who do not report to you, to follow your roadmap, to follow your vision, to align with your product strategy. But as I said, none of these people report to you. So, who are the stakeholders and what are the expectations? So a big one is obviously sales, right? In most organizations, sales is where the rubber hits the road. Revenue is what pays everybody's salary. So sales is a very important function, and a lot of times you're getting pressure from sales because they are out talking to your customers, and they come back from those discussions with your customers, and they share with you what the customer needs. And a lot of times they'll be sharing with you what a customer needs in the next release, so that they can close a big deal to generate revenue for the company, which will pay for your salary. So that's one set of stakeholders and expectations. A whole nother set of stakeholders and expectations is customer service. You've got key customers using your software. When customers aren't happy, especially in the enterprise space, they will escalate, and when they escalate, you will have a VP of customer happiness, or sometimes even a C-level executive bearing down on you, and saying, what's happening here? This customer is not happy. Your product is broken. I need you to fix it ASAP. So that's another stakeholder that you have to keep satisfied. Engineering is another set of stakeholders. So you might have, and you do have often, a situation where you're dealing with engineering team, and for example, engineering might be complaining to you on a regular basis about this technical debt that keeps compiling or compounding over time, and that as a product manager you keep promising that engineering team that you will provide for some prioritization for your technical debt in your roadmap, but it always gets bumped because of the needs of these other stakeholders. So your engineering team gets very frustrated with you, and they keep warning you, listen, your product is about to break, and it's because you keep ignoring this technical debt that we're warning you about. So that's just a couple of examples. There's more and more. Obviously, you've got finance who might be after you because of your numbers in terms of financial returns for your product. So, why would somebody want to do that? Why would somebody want to take on all of that responsibility with none of that authority? What is it that is so attractive to the role? I honestly would like to hear some feedback on this. I know myself. I like to say I didn't choose product management; it chose me, because at the time I just happened to be one of the people available who was able to understand both sides of the equation, the technology and the business, and talk to key customers and talk to chief executives, while at the same time also talking in detail and doing architecture discussions and whatnot with the technology folks. So I certainly didn't come out of school thinking I want to be a product manager. So why do you want to be a product manager? I find it interesting. It's certainly not hard to paint the role as one of the most thankless jobs that you could have. Everybody's going to be upset with you, unhappy with you, frustrated with you at some various point of time. You're not going to have a big budget. Typically, you're not going to have a big team in terms of direct reports. So it certainly doesn't sound like a very exciting or sexy job. So why do you want to have that? And more specifically, and more seriously, what I try to get across with some of the folks I talk to is, why do you want that role right out of school, or why do you want that role, so early in your career? As I've just explained, it's a very demanding role. There's a lot of diverse set of stakeholders. So the other thing that I find confusing is, why wouldn't somebody want to have that role as a final or a long-term destination after getting enough experience, in various domains, whether it's technology, the business side of things, the customer side and customer insight? Why not have product management be a destination after having visited and learned something about each of those different spaces, so that you can bring some context to the role, but also you really, as hopefully I've just made clear, you really need to have a thick skin to be in product management, because of the high likelihood that you'll have people from various groups screaming at you on a daily basis. So typically that thick skin is developed over time through what psychologists would call exposure therapy, of basically facing increasing pressure and increasing ambiguity in your career over time. So I find it somewhat baffling that people would want to come out of let's say a business school or come out of university and get thrown directly into that pot of that cauldron of boiling and overboiling expectations from a variety of different stakeholders. It seems like it'd be a bit of a shock to the system. Anyway, just throwing that out. So question for today is, why do you want to be a product manager? This is Alan Neal for the PDM Show, at the PDM Show on Twitter and Facebook, pdm.show on the web, and give me some comments on this video and let me know why you want to be a product manager. Thanks. Bye.